Dr. Isuwa Dogo, PRO Middle Belt Forum. My view about it, we do not want the word suspension. When you use the word suspension, it means there is a plan to come up with the same thing tomorrow, or the same thing with a different name, or in disguise to substitute it with something else. Suspension is not what we are talking of. We are talking of abandoning the idea completely, not to mention it, not to talk of activating it using any other method, any name, any pattern, any method, in whatever style. We are not going to accept it because it's not in congruence with what the people want. And our views have been clearly stated as to what should be done. And we also know that the motive, even if that is not the motive as we talked of, but we know eventually in due course is going to result in that. That is, that aspect of neocolonialism, indigenized colonialism, that kind of hegemony, that kind of domination, that aspect whereby you want to take people's land by force, with no regards to their feelings and what they will be and how they will be and how they will survive tomorrow. And we will not sit down and watch and simply allow that to happen to our people. That is, you are planning, or the government was planning, a total annihilation and extermination of the indigenous people, the ethnic nationalities of these areas that they want to forcefully acquire their land. As I'm talking to you now, a lot of land has already been taken, and it is not taken by Fulani. As far as we are concerned, these are terrorists. The people that have killed scores of people in southern Kaduna, in Benue, in Taraba, in Plateau, in Yobe, in Adamawa, in Borno, and other places are occupying these places. They are not herdsmen, so you can't call them herdsmen. You can't say that you are resolving what does not exist. There is nothing like herdsmen, farmers clash. And I can stand on Mount Kilimanjaro, put on top of Mount Everest, to denounce every single iota or idea of saying you have farmers and herdsmen clashing and you want to provide a soft landing for the herdsmen. It doesn't exist. Where are the farms that they go to trample upon and the farmers engage them and they have the disagreement or fighting? It doesn't exist. These are terrorists supported, and they know it. They come with their sophisticated weapons, kill our people, take over their land, rape their women and daughters and children and all whatnot, cut the pregnant women stomachs open, take the fetus and divide it into pieces and all whatnot. And you call it Fulani herdsmen clash. And the government knows them. They see them. They are the ones debating with us on television. And nobody has been arrested, not to talk of being tried or imprisoned or told to do anything. And so the first thing we expected government to do, one, to get rid of these people from our lands, arrest them, jail them, or try them, let the law take its natural course. That is when we will know that the government wants to do something. But to add salt to injury is repugnant to natural justice. People are crying, dying in our thousands on a regular basis. We can't go to our farms. We can't survive and walk around freely. And do you know one interesting thing? It's only when there is a massive number of people killed that the government talks about it or the media even carries it. But on a regular basis, you have people 1, 2, 3, 4. They are being killed almost on a daily basis. This is it. So we are saying government must wipe off these terrorists. Nobody is spared. Do you get it? Not even the hometown of the president. And we are saying that we do not want terrorists to take over Katsina. We do not want terrorists to take over Zamfara. We do not want terrorists to take over Sokoto. We do not want terrorists to take over Kaduna. We do not want terrorists to take over Benue. We do not want terrorists to take over Plateau. We do not want terrorists to take over Yobe. We do not want terrorists to take over Niger. We do not want terrorists to take over Kebbi. We do not want terrorists to take over Adamawa or Borno or any part of Nigeria for that matter. My view about that is that when there is no communication or proper communication or civilized communication, then there might be a secret agenda in it. The issue of wrenching is not new. Are you getting me? There was this proposal of wrenching even under Jonathan. And the wrenching at that time meant that there would be a chain, a multiplier effect. What you call both forward and backward linkages. Forward in the sense that you have massive land. We are talking of investors. We are talking of local and foreign investors. They are processing beef. They are processing dairy products. They are doing farming. So all sort of chain of activities will go on. It's a simple something, as far as I'm concerned, which any businessman or businessman can invest in. And that is not what you just wake up overnight and impose on the people. The people are sensitive enough to know. They will do their feasibility study. They will do their analysis. Both the foreign and the local people will know exactly what to do. And it will be beneficial to the country at large. One, we will have good meat, sensible, clean, delicious beef to eat across the country. Two, it will improve and will give us employment. Three, we will have other additional things like this cheese, butter, this, that, and all whatnot for us to have. Four, we will have adequate manure to cultivate other crops in these large areas of land. Six, the very roaming of cattle makes them emaciate, and you don't get the quality of meat that you are supposed to get from the cattle. That is why you see in the developed world, where do you see people roaming around with cattle? They don't. So ranching is simply it, and it is beneficial to all and sundry. And you wouldn't have any form of clashes because it's an investment. If the local people want to sell their land for ranching, they'll be adequately compensated. If they want to get involved as partners, it is open to them. If they want to do anything, they will do it. It's not the business of government. Government is supposed to simply provide an enabling atmosphere and the laws to enable local and foreign investors get involved in that. And that is exactly what Benue and Taraba states have done. And the laws are there. So the issue of saying that it was optional doesn't even make sense. Why did government have to call some states and say, okay, that is what you should do, and you can accept or you are not accepting? And those states, that the 12 states that accepted, do they have the land to do it? When did they contact the local communities that own the land? And where are the locations of where they decided to use it? And what is the role of government in it? Is government supposed to be sponsoring private business and sinking in billions of naira, taxpayers' money, to assist anybody or any group of persons? The answer is no, it shouldn't. So we simply have a law and an enabling environment that is attractive to investors to invest in ranching, and we will cease to have any problem of this nature. We have lived with the Fulanis for centuries, and the local Fulanis don't have any of these attitudes. And I say, without mincing words, those who come out on television or radio or newspapers to defend are terrorists. They are not Fulanis. And they are the people, they are not even Nigerians. And it beats my wildest imagination that the government will support terrorism, encourage terrorism, and has refused to arrest or to deter them in any form from taking over this country. So the government is trying to mortgage the whole country to foreigners and terrorists. We are not armed groups. So the only weapon we have is our brains, and to tell the people and the government the truth and to resist it at all cost and tell them it shouldn't be done because it is not the right thing to do. Mobilize the people to say, no, we don't want it. The government can choose to do whatever they want to, but the people have spoken across the country, not only here, but even up north. And I've said this, we are not just fighting for middle belt, southwest, south-south, southeast. We are fighting for the whole country. And those in the north who are so myopic, who cannot see what is happening, will soon see and know that they are playing with fire. Will they have ever thought that Katsina, Sokoto, Zamfara will be where they are today? Will those in Kaduna, North, like Birnin Gwere, ever thought that they will go through the kind of terrorism they have gone through? The answer is no. Or is it in Kebbi? Or is it in Niger? They never thought that it would be. So it is not restricted to Middle Belt, South-South, Southeast, or Southwest. It's a national issue that will involve everybody. The local Fulanis are crying out. This is it. And these people are not herdsmen. These are terrorists. They are simply using the word herdsmen to make the victims unprepared to die. Worse, herdsmen is used to make the government not to intervene. The worst herdsmen and farmers clash is used to make the international community think that it is a local thing. But I tell you, it's worse than Boko Haram 1,000,001 times. And anybody that doubts this across the whole nation will come to realize that they have sold themselves not only into slavery, but annihilation. Genocide is what will take place. The solution to it: 1, arrest all those people that have occupied our lands, restore the local people back to their original lands, compensate them, accommodate them, build up their huts and villages, and make them feel secured, first and foremost. 2, arrest the terrorists that have come to inflict terrorism in this country and fight them, drive them out of Nigeria. 3, ensure that our borders are adequately policed, the immigration and others, to insist that nobody enters Nigeria through any other means. Isn't it interesting that you find customs and others will go to villages to go to confiscate rice? They say they smuggle rice into Nigeria and they go there to confiscate these bags of rice, and people are smuggling massive sophisticated weapons into the country, inflicting unquantifiable type of damage to the citizenry. And they move around, even have the audacity to sit on television and radio stations and claiming that they must be protected. Where were they all these years? Where were their own Rugas? How did they become Fulanis? Where were their own cattle? What has been happening with them for centuries? Where have they been? The government cannot ask those simple questions. Do you need a PhD holder to ask this simple question to ascertain and to know that these people are simply killers? Certainly not. So that is the beginning. Settle our own people. Flush out the terrorists. Come up with a plan of investment that will accommodate both local and international investors in the ranching business. And all of us will be winners, and there will be peace. As of now, when farmers cannot go to their farms, only God knows the level of famine that is going to catch up with Nigeria if care is not taken. If no measures are taken, first and foremost, before the general one. For example, in southern Kaduna, the first restructuring we want is to have Gurara State. Then all other things can follow. Oh yes, we have made some of these recommendations several times to have state and local government police. And that is not to say it removes the federal government police. Remember, we are not saying that there should be no local government and there should be no federal government. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, there is hardly any state in Nigeria that does not have a state police. Only that they are called in different names. Whether it's vigilante or whatever name you call it, they are technically state police. In Lagos, haven't you seen new policemen? Don't you see them even armed? Don't you see them in uniform? Don't you see them stopping and arresting people? Don't you see them stopping all sort of things? As a state police already. Same thing in Kano and several other states. So in the real sense of it, it is only pretentious, deceitful, and what you will call a sort of political jingoism to say that we don't have a police at the state and the local government levels already, because that is what exists. The question you ask, how do those people get the arms? Whatever kind of arms they carry, how do they get them? They are sponsored by the governments, by the state or the local governments. So we already have it. All that the government is trying to do is to formalize it. That's all. But as it is now, there is hardly a single state in Nigeria that does not technically operating a state police. There is hardly a local government that is not technically operating a local government police. And you will discover that the federal police recognize them. They don't harass them. They don't arrest them. They don't do anything to them. If I were the woman, I would say you are forgiven. Even Jesus at the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He has been humble enough to apologize to her, and nationally. To go beyond that, to me, I think is unreasonable. If a person comes out on national television and says, I'm sincerely sorry, I have no reason to have acted that way, what else do you need from that person? I don't know how to put it, but if that woman knows what is right, that person should be the friend of that family for life.